welcome everyone. Welcome to an Astral interview. And here with me, I have the amazing Ajay Gupta. Gratitude for you being here.
Thank you. So grateful to be here.
Thank you. I love the background too. It's so peaceful.
Yeah, I'm just in my
Who's in the
my
pictures
grandfather's.
beside you?
That's my grandmother, my grandfather's wife, who passed away in 1998. And then that is a picture of my little niece.
Oh,
Yeah.
lovely, lovely. So tell us, Ajay, first of all, just tell us a little bit about your background, your childhood, where you grew up, and your life a little bit.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. So I was born and raised in London, and we lived in South Kensington growing up. And when I was 9 years old, my dad and my parents, well, both my parents, they physically dragged me and my sister and many other family members of ours to our very first personal development event, and it was in London. It was at the Excel Center, and it was by a guy named Mr. Anthony Robbins. And there was about, I think, 6,000 people. Have you heard of Tony Robbins?
No, absolutely. I've had the pleasure to work with his wife. So
beautiful, right? So so we went to our, my very first Tony Robbins event. I was 9 years old, and that's when I first walked across fire. And I remember walking across fire, and after taking my first step, and then my second step, and then my third step, and what felt like a marathon, because I was this short, fat Indian kid, 9 years old, and the fire is 12 feet. I remember turning around, and I looked back in the fire, and I said to myself, I looked at the fire, and I said to myself, if I could walk across fire, what else could I do? At 9 years old,
anything.
You could do anything. And it was simply a metaphor for life, right? My friends watching, listening, how many of you have had a fire in your life, something that you thought was once impossible that you made possible? And it was simply a metaphor, right? Because, if I could do this, what else could I do? And so we have videos of me and my cousins at the age of 9, 10, 11, hitting our chest, telling ourselves, we're simply the best, that we could do anything, that if I can't, I must. Yeah.
Imagine 9 having that confidence and that drive to know that you can do anything. Tell me though, what were your parents doing, or what was your father doing, or what was it that had him involved with Tony Robbins? And
yeah, it's a great question. So at the time, my dad was an eye doctor. He was an optometrist in the UK. And the year before, one of his cousins actually said to him, hey, you need to come to this personal development event. And at the time, it was my dad and my uncle. Both of them were, I wouldn't say against personal development, but, there was, personal development really wasn't a thing 20 years ago, right?
It was taboo.
And yeah, right. And so they were both resistant. They both resisted going. And eventually they decided, you know what, we'll try it out. And it changed their entire life. It changed the way that they did business. It changed the way they communicated. It changed the way, health changed. And they literally said, we'll be cheating our family if we don't take every single person to this event. Right. And so that's what they did the year after. They took our entire family, and it was such a beautiful, beautiful experience.
And doing it with your family and extended family, it must have been just amazing. It must have been just amazing. Like, what a family get together.
Yeah, it was. It's like a rock concert. Tony's events are rock concerts, and at the age of 9, it was just, I was more excited about not going to school. Right. Like I was like, as long as we get to miss 2 days of school, I'm in. But yeah, being around cousins, being around family members, jumping up and down, listening to Tony Robbins and the music. I mean, it was something that I had never experienced before.
Right. So tell me then, how has it changed your life between the time you were there and over the time till we get to now?
Yeah, great question. So many things have changed my life, and many things have shaped who I am today. But I think it was we moved to America when I was 12. So 3 years later, my mum attended one of his most advanced courses. It's called Date with Destiny. And my mum's dream was to always move to America growing up. That was her dream. And eventually, after coming back from that event 1 month later, she said to my dad, honey, we're taking the kids, we're moving. And that's what we did. So when I was 12, we moved to America. But it wasn't until 15 years old when the direction of my life completely changed, right? This was when, you know, I was going through a tough time in high school. I was getting bullied, and, you know, really didn't enjoy school. And, you know, I knew I was different from everybody else. And I remember running into my dad's office. I said, Dad, Tony's coming to Orlando. He's literally, you know, he's down the street. I want to go. And he said, you can go, but you have to find your own way there. And
Wow.
I was like, what do you mean, dude? Like, I'm 15 years old. These events are like $500, $600, $900. Like, what, I have to find, and he's like, just find
Oh
your own
my
way
God, it's
there.
probably the best thing he did for you.
It was, you know, and he's always telling me to do that. Just find your own way. Ask yourself better questions. There's always a way. So I went to my sister and I said, hey, I need your help. I need you to help me set up lemonade stands in the
Oh
town
my,
that we live in. And that's what we did for weeks. And we realized that it's so difficult to make money, right? The value of money. And then,
yeah.
you know, everything happens for a reason. And I got a scholarship to go. The Anthony Robbins Foundation sponsored me to attend. But one quote changed the entire direction of my life.
Tell me.
And it was the secret to living is giving. And
Oh,
I remember standing there,
so true.
four rows back, and I say to myself, what the hell does that mean? The secret to living is giving. And the next thing Tony Robbins said, he said, if you don't give and grow, you die.
Wow.
Not physically die, but mentally and emotionally.
Mentally and spiritually.
And I believe that if you mentally, emotionally die, you're physically dead as well.
Absolutely.
Right. So, and that's what I did. That's all I focused on. I focused on giving and growing, giving and growing, giving and growing. So when I was in high school, when I was 15, I just joined. I became president of science club just so I can give, even though I absolutely hated science. But it was just my way of 1 hour a week giving back to people who, you know, who enjoyed science. And I became president of all these organizations, captain of sports, just so I can give and so I can grow. And that
So,
concept of giving and growing has allowed me to become who I am today. Go
so
ahead.
what would you say to someone? Like often people who give a lot are told, you know, you give way too much. You don't give yourself enough, but you give way too much to others. What would you say to them? Because even though giving is so important, and you can't lose sight of giving to yourself too, correct?
Yeah.
Or
It's
what
so
is that
important.
concept? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so you have to serve yourself, right? I've learned the lesson multiple times the hard way. I've you know,
Me too.
yeah, it's a tough lesson to learn, and if you don't learn the lesson, it can be even tougher. But for me, I was giving, and I was flying from city to city, and I was, you know, going from one place to another, and I really wasn't taking care of myself. I was popping a lot of painkillers, and, you know, I wasn't really taking care of myself. And I was coaching a dear friend of mine who's a professional tennis player, and I flew to Wimbledon to coach him. And the day I landed, I started having very severe lower back pain, very severe. And I thought it was just the way I slept on the plane. And, you know, I just took a painkiller and I went to Wimbledon. And then, you know, that day I said, look, bro, I need to go home. I really, you know, I need to go home early. And went home early, slept that night. And the next day woke up with even more pain. And I still showed up to Wimbledon because I'm that person that just wants to give. It does,
Yeah.
you know, physical pain. Who cares, right? It'll go. And around 3 p.m. I had to leave early. I was like, bro, you know, I have to go, right? I just can't take this pain anymore.
Right.
And I still didn't do anything about it. I went home and, you know, just continued doing what I did and just rested. And it wasn't until midnight that night, and I was like, I was done. Like I was in a fetal position, and I was at my grandfather's house. I said, look, I need to go to the hospital. And long story short, they found out that my kidneys were failing. They were
Oh my
operating
God.
at a 27%.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, when I went into the hospital, and when I went into the new hospital to check in, you know, I remember walking. It was in the middle of summer, right? It was July 4th, July 5th, and I went in with shorts and a t-shirt, shorts and a tank top, because I just like,
Yeah.
that's just what
Yeah,
I do.
You were at wit's end.
Yeah, and you know, I was in the best shape of my life at that time, and the nurse comes up to me. She goes, "Where is the patient?" And I was like, I am the patient. She said, we've never had a patient walk up to us before. And I was in hospital for about 2 weeks, and touch wood, since then, nothing's come up health wise in regards to kidneys. But it was a very valuable lesson of
So
not
tell
taking care
me,
of
in
myself.
those few weeks, because you were isolated by yourself in the hospital and you had this pain, you must have gone through mental, emotional exercises with yourself in your mind that gave you revelations of what happened. I mean, you must have been thinking about what exactly happened to me. Why this pain? Like, why has my kidney failed? Like, what was it? Did you know? Or
Yeah. So great question. So by the way, the pain actually only lasted. So they gave me a bunch of painkillers when I was in hospital, and so many painkillers. Like I remember telling them stop the painkillers because I saw elephants and shit. Like it was crazy.
oh,
They just kept on pumping painkillers, and eventually I was like, look, no painkillers, zero. I don't want any. And the moment I said that, all the pain stopped. Right? There
amazing.
was no pain. So in those 2 weeks, the only pain, true physical pain that I experienced was just the first 1.5 days. But it was on day 3 or 4, I believe it was, the neurosurgeon, the nephrologist comes in, and he said, tomorrow I'm gonna be doing a biopsy on your kidneys to really find out what's going on. And I'd never had a biopsy before, and I said, okay, that's fine. And I remember walking to the bathroom later that evening, and I come back into the ward, and the gentleman who's in the hospital bed next to me, and he goes, son, can I share with you my story of when I first had my biopsy? And I love hearing stories. I live for stories. And I said, of course,
Absolutely.
and he's like, well, son, it was 55 years ago or 60 years ago or something. And I went into hospital and I had my biopsy. And since then I've been on dialysis, and I come to the hospital 3 times a week. And I was like,
Oh my
why would
God.
you tell me this? Like,
Oh
why? Like
God.
I'm 24 years old, and you're
Oh
telling me that the last time you had your biopsy, you ended up on dialysis and all this stuff. And
my God.
I was like, damn, right? And about an hour later, I get a phone call from a friend of mine, and I only had met her twice.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful soul. Her and her family are just amazing, and she lives in Dallas, Texas. And I
Okay.
get a call from her, and she said, AJ, is everything okay? I said, yeah, everything's great. And she said, are you sure?
Oh my God.
And I said, well, no, I'm actually lying down in a hospital bed right now.
Right.
And the first thing
So
she
how
said, she
important
said,
is it to be authentic right there too?
mm, mm. And she said, is it your kidneys? And I
Wow.
said, I didn't post anything on Facebook. No, I told my
Wow.
parents to keep it private. I only told very few, select few people, you know, maybe my parents, a couple family members, and my friend at Wimbledon, to kept him updated. And I said, how did you know?
Right.
And she's like, we as human beings, everyone has certain parts of the body that experience trauma and pain
Right.
when we're suffering.
Right.
And she said that, it's really not your kidneys, it's just you not giving your body the attention it needs.
Right.
And I said, okay, that's interesting. And she said, this is what I want you to do. And what I want you to do is put one hand on your heart and one hand on your kidneys. And I want you to just be with yourself and really acknowledge and just say sorry to yourself for not giving yourself and your body the attention it needs. She said, this may sound weird, but all I want you to do is just go on a journey and just thank your body and say sorry and be present to it.
Wow.
And so I did. I did this exercise for 1.5 hours. I was bawling out in tears. I'm in the hospital bed with 5 other patients in this room at Southend Hospital, and I'm just crying, crying, crying in gratitude and in being sorry for not
Wow.
treating my body the way I needed to be treated. And
Wow.
then I called her. I said, Shannon, I just finished the exercise. And she's like, AJ, you haven't even started. And so she's like, do it again. So I put the phone down, and another 2 hours of just constant, just so much gratitude, so much thanks, and just crying after crying. Like I've never cried that much in my entire life.
Wow.
to this day, I've never cried that much in my entire life. And
Wow.
and I finished at 3 a.m. the next morning. 9 a.m. surgeon comes in that same bed. They don't take me, they do it at the place. They had to do 4 different biopsies, 4
Oh my,
different clippings, and every single one came back inconclusive.
wow.
Every single one.
Inconclusive.
Meaning to this day, they have no idea what happened. To
Wow.
this day, they have, the results, like it turned around.
Yeah.
The power of your body, the power of your
The
mind,
power
the
of your
power
mind. Yeah.
is huge.
Yeah, my I'll share a story with you if it's okay. My grandma, when I
Please.
was like 10 years old, well, 9 years old, not quite 10 yet, was diagnosed with stomach cancer. And so, stomach cancer, her belly was big and she looked pregnant, right? And so I come home from school and, I don't know what's going on. My parents and everyone are upstairs in a meeting. And we all lived together, my uncles and aunts, everyone lived together at this time. And I go upstairs and there's this big meeting going on. All I hear is, Ma's leaving. And, we have to start thinking about what to do because the doctor said in 2 weeks she'll be gone. Now, I didn't know at this time what this she'll be gone meant, right? So I go running down to my ma, I called her Ma. And I'm like, Ma, these people are saying that, you're going to be leaving. Where are you going, right? And she's like, don't listen to them. Nothing's going to happen to me. Nothing. But they said 2 weeks you're going to be leaving, right? It's like, no, nothing's going to happen. And literally in the 2 weeks, I watched her belly go from pregnant to small. She had some kind of test in 2 weeks later. They diagnosed her with stomach cancer with only 2 weeks to live. 2 weeks later, there's no cancer. They can't find it. So we're talking about the power of the mind, and literally, like she knew beyond a shadow of a doubt for some reason that she had that control, and just like you were influenced by your grandfather, I was influenced by my grandma, and she taught me how to meditate at a very, very young age, and so yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. The power of the mind.
Story. It is so powerful. I tell people, like, especially if you have people who are elderly, don't let them listen to anything the doctor says, because as soon as they hear that, they start thinking. If a doctor tells you have 1 month to live, you have 3 weeks to live.
Yeah.
It's so powerful.
So tell me, Shannon, your friend, how did you know her? What gave you the confidence to trust her to do what she said? What was that? Or is that something spiritual or something you had put in your timeline? So when this happened,
I don't know. It was a gift from God. I had only met her like a month ago prior to that. It was, I was speaking at a conference in Dallas, Texas, and her son actually, or her children were there, and just, I think one of them spoke, and there was such a beautiful family, and we just connected, and the kids are just unbelievable, like such amazing, phenomenal, smart, intelligent, funny kids, and we just connected, and we went out for dinner, and that's it.
Wow.
That was it.
Wow. So did she ever tell you what caused her to call you that day? Wow. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to know. I don't need to know.
Absolutely.
It's a blessing.
Absolutely. So amazing. So, okay, what happened? You got your tests were inconclusive in the hospital. Then what happens?
Yeah. So tests were inconclusive. I'm in no pain, right? Obviously. And so I'm still like, I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm in no pain. I want to go out for a run. Like I want to go. And they, they were like, they wouldn't let me leave the hospital. So,
oh my God.
I just chilled in the hospital, and I was on medication. So they gave me steroids and just a steroid treatment. And then eventually, like on day 5 or day 6, I was like, look, like there has to be a way. You cannot just keep me in hospital. Like, let's make an agreement. Right. They're like, we don't do agreements. I said, well, I do agreements. Right. So let's make an agreement. And we came to an agreement where during the day I could go to I could leave the hospital, I could check myself out, as long as I came back in the evening in time to sleep there.
Wow,
Because
that's
they
really
they want to just monitor me overnight. And I said, okay, great, that's great. So, it felt so freeing to leave the hospital, and I just went to
right.
my uncle's house and chilled for a couple hours during that time. And I think I was in hospital for about close to 14 days. And then eventually, all the tests came back down, and all the numbers started to come back, and they let me go. And touch wood, nothing's happened since. But it was such a beautiful lesson that I learned.
Thank God. That's amazing. I think all of us have this lesson in our life in one form or another if we recognize it. Like you were lucky because you had gone to the personal development training with Tony, so you probably had certain understanding of mind over matter, and you were able to foresee what to expect on some level, right?
Yeah, but like I really, I really didn't believe any of that stuff until it happened, right? Like if
Right.
someone had told me, hey, talk to your body and you'll be able to heal yourself, I'll be like, dude, that's such BS. But until it happens to you and you've tried it, it's so powerful. But
Right.
I also want to share that the human
Peace.
mind is so powerful that I actually asked to be in a hospital, right?
Wow.
So I remember um I remember going for a walk, and I can't remember the exact date, but it was about a month before, maybe 3 weeks. And I was going for a walk, and I was so exhausted. I do about 75 to 90 flights a year, typically prior to COVID, and every 3 days I was just on a plane, right? And I remember at home I was walking, and I was like, dude, I'm done. Like I just want to sleep. I actually just said, I just want to be in hospital. That's what I said. I didn't
Wow.
realize I said that until after. And it's like
Wow.
I marinate. It's like
You
I
manifested that reality.
manifested it. Yeah.
Wow.
And I got what I asked for.
It's true. You know what NLP is, right?
Yeah.
So I'd taken a course in NLP and I gotten certified. And my friend says to me, you have to help this person. You have to help her. You just got certified. And I just talked to this friend just briefly about smoking. And we determined that her smoking was as a result of her dad used to have cigars,
Mm-hmm.
and her dad passed away. So now she's smoking because to keep her dad's cigar alive, right? And
Yeah.
so she had this experience with me, and I didn't really do anything. She kind of talked herself through that reality. And so she's like, help this person. And so I'm like, okay, well, I can't help somebody. This person had cancer, right? She had a 4-inch tumor in her lungs. And I'm like, how am I going to help someone with a tumor of all things, right? I go, well, okay, I'll talk to her, right? And I said to God, I'm like, God, I can't do anything with this. You're going to have to help me, right? I don't know what words to say to this person or how it's going to be so that, I can help this person. But because this person has come into my life, okay, thank you. I will do or say what I can, but you help me. And so God says, tell her she did this to herself.
Mm.
And so I say these words to this person, and I don't know the whole story yet, but I get yelled at, right? You do this, you that, how can you say this and this? And all of a sudden, there's this pin drop silence. And she says the words, I did this to myself.
Mm.
And I'm like, what do you mean? And I'm like, what happened? Like what transfer? Because it was like 5 minutes of, how can you say this to me? What kind of person are you? I don't understand why she sent me to you to help me. And then she worked in human resources. And so she was doing, all these forms would come to her of disability and this and that, where people are getting time off from work because of their disability. And she basically sitting there doing these forms said, these people are so lucky that, all I do is fill out this form and they get money and they don't have to work. She realized she manifested that for herself.
Yeah,
And
so powerful.
it's so powerful. And 2 weeks later, again, there's a MRI she has to go to. And the tumor, they said that was 4 inches, is now a quarter of an inch.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it really is. I mean, there's no words to describe.
Right.
So powerful.
The mind is so powerful. And the more of us realize that.
Yeah. And even my grandfather, he's 89 years old. He has, heart disease, lung disease, all these, a bunch of different things, eye disease. And he got his vaccine, right? Something as little as the COVID vaccine. And a lot of his friends, and I have family members who have, they've been in and out of hospital from COVID. Right. And I have a cousin of mine who had COVID, and he was literally in bed for 2 weeks. He could not move, physically could not move from bed for 2 weeks. And he got his vaccine after, and the 3 days after the vaccine were worse than the 2 weeks of COVID. And so when my grandfather had his vaccine, no arm pain, no side effects, no nothing. And I sat there and I was like, what is it? How is it that you don't have anything? Not even nothing, not even an irritation, not even a bad word to say. And he's like, because I just told my body to heal itself.
Amen.
And I've never spoken to him about any sort of healing. I've never spoken to him about talking to your body. I didn't think he would even, he's very old school. He'd just be like, what do you mean? And he's like, I just tell my body to heal.
Yeah.
And I heal.
That's so amazing. And somehow certain people are gifted with this knowing. Like my mom, her legs were like this big, and normally, of course, they're that big, right? And so I'm with my parents right now looking after them because of COVID, and they need help and all. So I came here in the summer. It's my duty. It's my life. So in the summer, her legs were like this big. And so we were trying to figure it out. She went to the hospital, came back and forth. Your potassium is low, your sodium is high, and all this balancing. And, finally my mom just says, okay, I don't care anymore. I'm just going to go do the laundry. I'm going to cook food because that's what I want to do. And my Mola is going to take care of me, right? My God's going to take care of me. And as soon as she said that, her legs started to go back to normal. As soon as she had that conviction that,
Once you make that decision, once you allow your body and mind to make that decision that enough is enough, that you're going to start taking control of your life and your health, that's it.
Absolutely. So back to you. Okay, so you're 24, 25 years old. You've had this experience in the hospital. You're now out of the hospital now, I guess, and they let you go. What happens in your life after that?
Yeah, back to the grind, back to traveling. I it's like just continue the traveling, continue the speaking, and I took some time off after that, but just now I'm on a mission to just inspire people and to help people and to support them and to spread all the tools and technologies that I've learned over the last 20 years in personal development, and share it with the world, because there are a lot of people out there suffering.
Absolutely.
So many.
Absolutely.
And there's no reason to.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more of you that are out there sharing the word and getting it through, the more our world changes. I got excited about talking to you because I heard you talk about gratitude in the clubhouse meeting, and I'm like, I've got to get him to tell this gratitude message on a video to the clients that watch my videos, because it's such a powerful message.
Yeah,
it's so simple. It's so simple. I mean, you shared how Shannon asked you to go through that exercise, and really, what was it? You were thinking of all the things you were grateful for in that time, right? That's what.
Yeah. So what it was is it was putting the attention on the body and just saying, I thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, I thank you, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, right? Exactly what very similar to what Tony says. Yeah, but it was just my way of just saying, look, I'm here with you now. I understand. I support you. I will never leave you. And I'm sorry. And that's it. Just those words over and over again, and just, you know, and just
with
being
meaning
present.
and with feeling.
Yeah, with pure intention.
Yes.
Like, truly, I'm so sorry for leaving you and treating you the way I treat you. I'm so sorry for pushing you. I'm so sorry for dragging you from flight to flight to flight and not eating and you know, whatever it is. I'm just sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. And our
And my
scriptural
commitment,
go ahead.
go ahead. No, so I'm sorry, and my commitment is to just step up and to treat the body like the temple it is.
That's right. I was just going to say, our scripture tells us, right, that our body is a temple. And well, you synchronize with me by saying that.
Yeah, it's true.
What would you say this? How long has it been, by the way, from that incident to now? How many years has it been?
That was in 2017. So it was July 2017. So almost 4 years.
Wow. Wow. And so your entrepreneurship you've taken on is basically coaching and life coaching.
Yeah, coaching and speaking. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So what would you say to somebody as a coach? Because it's, you know, it's easy for us to say, to do the whole pono, but what would you say to the person when you say that to them that says, yeah, you're full of it, right? What would you say to that person?
Yeah, so for some people it doesn't work. For some people they need something else, and it doesn't resonate with everybody. So you just have to find something that resonates with them, right? Maybe it's just changing their focus, focusing on what they have, focusing on, maybe it's a certain family member that they can focus on that brings them that you know, centeredness, or brings them that, you know, gets them grounded. You know, whatever it is, it is different for everybody. But you know, I urge everybody to at least try it. You know,
Absolutely.
try it for them and
that's
see
what I
how.
say. Can you just try it? Just try it.
Yeah.
So tell me, Ajay, tell me about your coaching. Tell everyone about your coaching. Tell them what they'll expect if they come to a speaking coaching session with you. Maybe share some tools with us that you'll share with them.
Yeah. So coaching is what they will get is just results, period. I mean, whatever you need support with, you know, I find out where you are, where you want to get to, and help get you there a lot faster with a lot more joy and with a lot more passion and a lot more, you know, happiness. Whatever you need, I provide. You know, it's just, I have a PhD in results, period. So that's what I deliver. So I will do whatever it takes to get you that result.
A PhD in results. Tell us about this PhD in results and how one qualifies for it.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been in personal development for 20 years. So like I said, my journey started when I was 9, and, you know, I've had the privilege of probably attending 45 UPWs.
Wow.
I was a youth coach for the Anthony Robbins Foundation for 10 years when I was 14 years old. I've had the opportunity to speak at Rotary clubs around the US, and I was a leader for the Rotary Youth Leadership Summits that we were holding in the state of Florida for 5 years. I've had the privilege of traveling to 43 different countries and meeting with prime ministers and presidents of countries, and, you know, and I was an ambassador for the World Economic Forum that they held in India a couple of years ago, and, you know, just met so many beautiful people. I'm on the board of directors of two nonprofits in India, and, you know, all the experiences that I've experienced, all the people that I've met, and all the you know, from landmark education to Tony Robbins to, you know, holding my own events, you know, you learn a lot of things. And, you know, I've been around, you know, hundreds of thousands of people, and, you know, I would be an idiot not to learn certain patterns that make human beings happy, and there are certain patterns that make us sad and pissed off. And it's really just knowing why human beings do what they do, and why you do what you do, and why we all do what we do, and serving people and coming down to their level and then bringing them up.
So I wish every 9-year-old has your experience, because really, the more 9-year-olds that have that experience you had, our world will change. Our reality will be different.
Yeah.
Our what we see outside of us, inside, outside. So
I wish that too, but then I also, everything happens for a reason, right?
absolutely.
And I'm glad I got it at 9 years old and not 15, but I'm also glad I got it at 9 and not 5, because I wouldn't be where I am today if I had got it earlier.
Right.
And I just urge everybody listening, it doesn't matter, when your personal development journey started, as long as it starts.
Yeah.
It starts with you. It starts with now. You can decide right now. Just decide to make a change. Decide that today's the day, right? Be so great that you can't be ignored. And even if you are ignored, it doesn't matter, because it's who you become on this journey of life that matters. It's not the money. It's not the fame. It's not the cars. It's none of that. Money will not make you happy. Period. I promise you, it'll make you happy for an hour. It'll make you happy for 5 minutes, maybe a day, but it's not sustainable. What makes you happy is growing and giving. And when you grow and you give especially when you have nothing to give, but when you give without unconditionally, without wanting anything in return, that's when you're going to experience the most happiness. That's when you experience fulfillment.
Amazing, amazing. So Ajay, tell us just now quickly 1 or 2 tools that you could share with us that others can use here and now to prove to themselves that this works.
Yeah. So the first thing I tell people is you have to be grateful, right? The secret to living is giving. I truly believe that. And gratitude is not something that you do for a day, or you do for a week, or you do for a month. And you're like, oh, I did that gratitude thing, and it was all BS. It didn't work, right? Gratitude is not something you just do for a month. It's a lifestyle, right? It's something that you practice every single day. And I used to practice it 10 times a day sometimes before I did any meeting, before I go into any podcast, any interview, before any workshop, before any talk. I used to put myself in a state of gratitude where I focused on the difference that I could make and focus on the appreciations. And when you build that muscle, it just becomes who you are. And because it's impossible to be fearful and grateful at the same time.
Wow.
Right. Most people live, if you ask yourself, what are the top 5 emotions that you experience in a week, or top 10 emotions, most people's top 10 emotions, 7 out of 10 of them make them feel like crap. They're fearful, they're anxious, they're scared, they don't know what to do. They say to themselves, they can't do it, all these things. So the antidote to all of those things is just gratitude. So I would tell people, trade your expectations for appreciations and your whole world changes. Have more gratitude, be grateful for what you have and not what you don't have. And then the second thing you do is just grow 1% a day, become 1% more happier, 1% more giving, 1% more playful, 1% more present. Presence is the biggest gift you can give everybody.
Right. And that 1% too is so important, because you're growing. Even that 1%, you're growing, like you said. So if you give yourself an extra 1% every day in all categories of your life, wow, can you imagine how amazing your life would be?
Imagine if you just did that every day for a week, every day for a month, every day for a year, compounded. It's incredible where you would be.
Okay, tell me some success stories now. You must have by now coached 1 or 2 people that have had amazing successes that you could share with me.
I mean, so many, and success is, it's all relative, because, it depends what your definition of success is. But for me, it's, saving someone from committing suicide. That's success. Getting people back to loving themselves and having more appreciation for their family. Seeing kids reunite with their parents. That's success.
Wow.
The businesses will all come, right? That's all a byproduct of just becoming the best version of you.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
I was coaching someone the other day. After 2 coaching sessions, she started 3 companies. Right. But we never even spoke about business. I didn't even know she wanted to even start a business. But when you get out of yourself and you focus on the difference you can make to other people, it's amazing what you can do.
Well, I think I might take you on as a coach as well one of these days.
Everyone that needs to have a coach, find someone that you resonate with, because you know, coaching is so important, right? If I want to, you know, I'm in great shape, but I'm actually looking for a coach, another coach to help me get my health to a whole new level. You know,
Yeah,
coaches are so important,
they are. They're
and
so
you have,
important.
yeah, it's so important.
Yeah, I learned that lesson a little late in life, but now that I have
But
learned
you
it.
learned the lesson. That's important. Most people don't even learn the lesson.
Okay, Ajay, I've exhausted my questions. Is there anything you want to share with everyone that maybe I've, not even thought of asking you? Or like we talked about your family, we talked about your life, we talked about our experience, we talked about why you're here and where you are right now. Is there anything you want to share that I may not even have thought of?
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things I could
Of
share,
course.
but you know, change your focus, change your life. Right. I think they're so huge. You know, what you focus on, my friends, is what you get. If you focus on the negativity, if you focus on the crap, if you focus on why is God punishing me? Why is this happening to me? You're only going to get negativity. But if you focus on, change your focus, if you focus on, you know, God is actually helping me, or, you know, why, you know, this is happening for me instead of to me, and life is a get to instead of life is a have to. And
Right.
you make
Well,
those
that's a
small
beautiful
changes.
one. Life is a get to instead of a have
Yeah.
to.
Life is
Amazing.
a get to, right?
Absolutely.
And we can choose that, like, this beautiful life is a get to. We don't have to do anything. We don't
No,
have to be here. None of us have to be here, but
no.
we get to be here.
Yeah.
And when we get to do things, it's such a beautiful thing. So one, change your focus, because what you focus on, you will get. There's a part of the brain, it's called the reticular activation system, right? Right. Do you remember the first car that you bought, or the car that you currently drive? Do you remember buying it the
Yeah.
first day? What car do you have?
I have a yellow beetle bug.
You have a yellow
Beetle bug.
beetle bug. Okay,
I
fantastic.
love
Now,
I love my yellow beetle bug.
beautiful. Now, when you first got the beetle bug yellow, did you notice a lot more yellow cars around, or a lot more beetle bugs around?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. See, the number of yellow cars or beetle bugs didn't go up. It was your brain associated the yellow beetle bug, right? What you focus on is what you got. So that part of the brain, the reticular activation system, is so strong, right? So get crystal clear on exactly what you want in life, my friends. Crystal clear, right? And I promise you, when you become crystal clear on exactly what you want, your brain will just go and find it, because it knows exactly what it wants. So one is change your focus. Two is your physiology, the way you move your body. You have to move, right? Motion creates emotion, right? A lot of people don't move these days, right?
Right.
They get depressed and they're frustrated, and what you do with your body language will dictate, you know, frustrated and pissed off. If I were to give you $1,000 and tell you, hey, you know, I pick a random person from any part of the planet, and I put it in a room with closed doors, and I gave you $1,000, and you, only if you describe to me what their body language is if they're pissed off and frustrated, would you be able to do it?
Not if I was pissed off and upset.
No. So if I were to give you $1,000 and to
Yeah.
explain to me the person behind the door what their body language is if they were pissed off and frustrated, would you be able to explain what their body
No.
language is?
No, I would
Okay,
not.
so, so let's say someone is pissed off and frustrated, and the door's closed anywhere around the world. Now, would they be probably sitting down, or would they be standing up?
Probably sitting down and
Probably sitting down,
crunched
absolutely.
up, and
Crunched up. Would their head be up, or would their head be down?
their head would be down, and there would be like, I don't know, crunching their
Yeah.
fists and
Yeah,
tightening
crunching their
up,
fist.
and
They're tightening. Would their breathing be shallow, or would it be fast?
it would be shallow because
It'd be
they're
shallow
holding
breathing.
their throat probably too.
Absolutely. Right. Beautiful. Now, and that was anybody in the world, right? And I gave you $1,000 to describe that. See, there are certain patterns that we do with our behavior that make us pissed off and frustrated. And then on the flip side, there are certain patterns that we do with our behavior that make us happy and vibrant. So, my
Right.
dear, if I gave you $1,000 to describe someone who's happy and vibrant in the room behind me, would you be able to describe them?
Woohoo!
Yeah, they'd be jumping up and down, they'd be moving, they'd be fast, their head would be up, they'd have a smile on their face, right? So there are
So,
certain patterns that we do with our body that make us this way. So change your focus, change your physiology, which is the way you move your body. And three is language. The language we use dictates our life. The language that we use and attach to the experiences that we have will dictate the experience that we have. So change the language you use. So if you say, you know, if I asked you how was 2020, you say 2020 was absolutely horrible, and it was miserable, and we were stuck indoors, and you know, it was negative, and there was a lot of fear, right? All those are negative words, and the experience that you're going to get from 2020 would be negative. But but there are parts of 2020 that were amazing, right? We became closer to our families. We reconnected. We learned how to slow down, right? Maybe started a new language, right? So the language we use is huge, right? So become aware of the language you use and the meaning that you give to things. So meaning is huge as well. If, for example, you know, your girlfriend says that they were going to call you and they don't call you, you may make it mean that she doesn't love you, or she hates you, or she doesn't care for you, or she doesn't, you know, she doesn't honor you, right? You can make it mean that way, or you can just simply make it mean that she was busy and she'll call you later.
Right.
And it changes a whole dynamic and the way you communicate with, right? So I think that's 3 things. If you do those 3 things, your entire life changes. Change your focus, change your physiology, change the language and meaning you use.
Thank you so much. That's such an amazing tip you've given everyone. And that example about the girlfriend, isn't that so real and so true that, you know, sometimes we're in our head thinking of all kinds of things that aren't even real, that don't even exist out there. And prompting that it's that when it's never that.
Yeah, and we as human beings, we like to be right, right? And we love to be right about being right. So if we create this meaning for something, we'll find examples in our life that meet that belief.
Absolutely.
You know, it's fascinating.
It is. It's so fascinating. And you're talking about the brain, and well, let's just talk about that one last thing before you go, the brain, heart, and connection. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, the brain, and I mean, we're all connected, right? I tell people this: when you're in your head, you're dead. And when you're in your heart, you're alive and vibrant, right? So when you need to make when you need to make any decision, really come from your heart, because most of the answers are in your heart, right? And when we're coming from our heart, you know, especially when it comes to speaking, you know, a lot of people, they're so afraid of what they're going to say, or they're so scared of, you know, how they're going to say it. But I truly believe when you come from your heart, it doesn't matter what comes out of your mouth, as long as it's with pure intention, it is great. You know, so lead with your heart, come from your heart. And when we come from our head, we're usually dead.
Wow. This morning, I was on Instagram and I saw this image that somebody posted that said, you know, listen to your heart, listen to your brain, your heart doesn't know what it's talking about. And I'm like, come on, what's going on here?
Yeah, but sometimes you have to, but you know, most of the time the answers are within.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're a testament of that. Yeah. You're a testament of that. So, and the Robbins are such beautiful, beautiful souls. They're so loving and so beautiful and so pure in their hearts that, you know, the rest of it is just a byproduct of who they are, you know?
I mean, Tony is, you know, aside from him and my dad, they're the 2 most incredible men in the entire world, hands down. I mean, the man is absolutely amazing. I love him so much. Such a great human being, you know. And I asked him, we happened to be on a plane together, 2014, I believe. We were flying from London to New York together. We happened to be on the same plane.
Lucky.
And it was beautiful. And we were actually sitting on opposite sides of the plane. And you know, when we have more time, I'll share the story. But so we ended up sitting next to each other.
If you have time, share.
Okay, I can share. I've got 9 minutes. So so I flew to London. I was working with Tony at the time, and I flew to London and for my cousin's wedding. And it was really important for us to be there because, you know, her parents didn't show up. She married out of religion. And so we went there to support. I flew there for 2 days, and when I was checking in at Heathrow Airport, I was at the lounge, and underneath my name it was in alphabetical order. It said Anthony Robbins, and I said to the lady, I said, "Is Tony Robbins? Has he checked in yet?" And she's like, "I don't know who he is." And I was like, "Okay, fine,
Oh
he
my
hasn't checked in."
God.
So I'm in the lounge, and I go and get a drink, and Tony's not here, and I was like, all right, I'll wait 5 more minutes, and if he doesn't show up, I'll go and get a massage or something. So he doesn't show up, and I go and get a massage, and I come out of the massage, and Tony's sitting there on the phone with Jay, his bodyguard. So I go up to Jay, I was like, "Hey bro," gave him a hug, and I was like, "Look, when Tony's finished, I want to speak to him." And he's like, "Yeah, as soon as he's done, you can speak to him." So Tony gets off the call. He was actually speaking to Sage, and give him a huge hug and a huge kiss, and just talk about what I'm doing right now, and just things like that. And so anyway, he gets back on the phone call, and I go back to the bar, and they call the gate, and I start walking towards the plane, and I get on the plane, and I set my stuff down on my chair, and then I'm on my phone or something, and then I look up from my chair, and I see Tony come onto this plane, and he gives me a head nod, and I give him a head nod, and I was like, what are the chances of us
Like, what are
both
the
being in the same
chances?
plane? We're going to Newark, or like, I was like, if anything, Tony would be flying to JFK, right? But he's flying to Newark. And so I immediately called my dad. I was like, dude, guess who's on the plane with me to New York? And he said, it's Richard Branson. I said, no, it's not Richard. I said, it's Tony. And
Oh
he
my
said, do whatever it takes to sit next to Tony. And I said, what do you mean? He said, just do whatever it takes. Find a way. There's
Wow.
always a way. And so I was like, nah, that's stupid. I'm not going to ask, I don't want to ask Tony. I don't want to bother him. I don't want to ask the person next to him sitting,
Maybe the
and then
person
that
next to him
voice.
didn't know who he was.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? Right. And all these stuff were going through my head. And I was like, okay, do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes. Do whatever it takes. And I just got up. I got up, and I walked down the aisle, walked across the gallery, walked over, and I walked directly to the guy sitting next to Tony. And I said to him, I was like, brother, you don't know who I am. You evidently don't know who the person sitting next to you is, but it'll mean the world to me if I could take your seat. And I guess he was from Eastern Europe, and there was a lot of confusion in his face. You could tell he was very confused. And I said, look, I was like, brother, this man saved my dad from committing suicide. That's how much it means to me.
Oh my
And
God.
you could tell just confusion on his face. And he's like, I don't know what's going
Story
on.
you haven't told me.
Yeah, hundreds. And there's always another form of communication, right? If words don't work, there's always another way. And so I took off my favorite watch, and it's not this one, but it was a watch that I had at that time. I took it off, and I put it in his hand like this, and I pointed to my seat, which is the same window seat, first class seat just on the other side of the plane. And I pointed to my seat, and I said, look, please sit there and let me sit here. And he gave me the watch back. He said, keep your watch, help me move my stuff over. So I moved all his stuff over, and I moved my stuff over, and Tony saw the whole thing, and he's like, AJ, that was effing impressive. And I said, Tony, in life, you have to do whatever it takes. And so Tony and I shared this beautiful flight together. And, he said, AJ, I'm effing tired. I just finished business mastery. It's 6 days long. And, I slept 2 hours a day, and I've got another event, and I'm writing my book. This was right before Money Master the Game came out. And he's like, I'm so tired.
Aww.
And I said, Tony, if you need to sleep, sleep. But I do want to ask you a couple questions when you're awake. And on this 8-hour journey, when he wasn't talking to me, he was reading. And when he wasn't reading, he was writing. And when he wasn't writing, he was eating almonds. And he slept for about 20 minutes, half an hour. And I said to Tony, why do you keep on doing what you're doing? Like, you've made it, bro. You're worth, $500 million. You have a wife, you have a family, your kids. You've done it. Why do you keep on doing what you're doing?
Because kidding.
I'll never forget. He looked at me in the eyes, no hesitation. He said, AJ, if there are people out there suffering, I won't stop. And I said, Tony, there are people out there suffering all the time. And he said, exactly. And it's just so proud. The man is I love him. I don't give a crap what people say about him.
Absolutely.
You know, so many people say so much crap, but if you know who he is and what he's about, the man is here to just give. I mean, poor man was on Date with Destiny 2 years ago, and he lost half of his blood, and he was in hospital, and the doctor said, you can't do anything, you can't go back. And he still showed up in a freaking wheelchair.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
Thank you
be
for sharing that
hungry.
moment with
Yeah, so I said to him, what is the secret to success? He said, AJ, be hungry. And I said, Tony, I'm always hungry. I eat 5 times a day. And he said, no, AJ. He said, just be so hungry. Be hungry for success. Get so hungry that it keeps you up at night, and get so hungry that it wakes you up before your alarm clock goes off. Add more value to other people. I tell people, add so much value to other people that they become raving fans. And when you do that, your life will be so beautiful.
Thank you for this emotional moment. You're
Thank you.
beautiful, AJ. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for having the commitment of learning from Tony and repeating what Tony's doing and sharing what Tony's doing. And thank you for having that conviction to give and grow.
Thank you.
Thank you.